Alright, good evening everybody. System Chalk here with the 58th episode, I believe, of our first run through Book of Hours on YouTube. Uh-oh. Sorry. I thought there might have been a problem with the upload on the other episode. But yes, I am a little bit better prepared than on Monday's episode. I've got... In fact, I have the book that I was reading, my Norton Anthology. I will not refer to it, but... if the mood takes me. I will not read the Old English, though. I am not capable of doing that. So, we wound up with a bit of an inconvenient impulse. I'm running on the assumption here that this text gives me an impulse. I'll probably make sure it's the first one that I read if I want to get an impulse, just to be sure. But it's the only way I could make sense of it, not showing, not giving me a memory. We're currently bringing in the stone stories. Now, the one thing that's inconvenient about this is we've already used up the health. So one thing that I haven't been doing the last little while is cycling through my elements of the soul to earn a little bit of money and bring it back. Again, we're fine. We've got plenty. But I do want to make sure that I'm maximizing my chances to level things up. So we've got that here, rest and refreshment winter. It is winter and the storms have tightened the seas. I am sitting before the fire in the sweet bones with a beef and potato pasty in one hand and a hot ale posset in the other. So with Edict's Liminal, so what I need here is four memories that have knock or moth, and then eventually 5. Now, the best way for me to get that, so we've got the impulse shelves. Salt would give me knock, so that's 2. Pattern would give me knock as well, so that's 3. These give me satisfaction. Gossip, I believe. Fear gives me scale, so that'll work. Contradiction is edge. Don't think the confounding parable or intuition help me on that. Yeah, so I mean, I'm back to the old dilemma of how much do I want to try and rely on. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to try something a little different this time. I think I'm actually going to make an effort to read as far as I can without worrying about generating the memories from other places. So I'm getting the health back because that's going to be an easy one to level up stone stories. Let's see if I can pull off the Geminiad with just desires and dissolutions, particularly with Fusine. Nope, not quite there. For some reason I thought Fusine would be Grail. Incorrectly assumed that it would be Grail because I think there are previously stated reasons why it should be aligned with Heart. But I can use the scales, so the spice scales, redolent of decades of piquant passage. And in this case, what that does is that just preserves the satisfaction in case I can use it to level up whenever I get outside of there. So do I want to do that with any of these others? Well, for the Fusine, that's not an option. So yeah, I'm back to the old question of, is there a way for me to try and turn this storm into some kind of a bigger... yes, I can, actually. I take drums and dances with the storm. The thing is, I don't actually think this winds up having a big sky element to it. Well, you know what? That's fine, because all I really need is... It's actually, if I do that, and I combine the Solace and then the Faust... So I have a specific plan for that. Okay, Old Copper Nose and the Softer Metal, a disgraceful compendium of rivaled poetry about the habits and corruptions of Henry VIII. Henry's great misfortune, his crushing injury at a jousting bout, has left him unable to stand any straighter than a splintered withy. The most savage mockery is reserved for Henry's great debasement, where the corruption of his softer metal is supposed to have crept into the coin of the realm. The last and most serious lampoon makes seditious references to the Crucible Revolution. So this gives us bells and braziers. I don't recall if we... No, we do not yet have that. Okay. And that's a foresight text, so we can put that alongside Bancroft Diaries. Nope, looks like I am moving these around. Okay, I gotta think about... Glimmerings, I think it's a bittersweet certainty now that I remember. But I do need to find a better place for it because... Yeah, you know what? I think I'm just gonna have to accept. That's not a good spot. But I need to make room for my new foresight. Okay, so with bells and braziers, I think we're in the same situation where we were before. So let's actually make some space for these. Yeah, I've got quite a bit of cleaning to do here, actually. So we will... First of all, I want to make space for the level 3 coil and chasm. Moving some containment down. Move this one up here. We will have a level 2 stone stories when all is said and done. So, well, that'll just take this slot here. And then the same will go for bells and braziers when the time comes. So that'll go in there. And then Fusine will just tuck off to the side. Okay. I'm starting to impose order again. Nice. Now, Etery After, I think we said was a possibility, but I needed a memory, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, right, no, I was waiting for the snow. So the way I should be treating these is basically... if it's possible to read. So I may have actually just cut off the possibility of reading the Geminiad one, but honestly, I've got enough on my plate that I'm not going to shed too many tears over not being able to read that. So the big question in front of me now is, can I try and do something with Edict's Liminal in the time that I have left? So we're going to have a health taken away for stone stories. With Edict's Liminal, I will have... oh, yes, there is another challenge here where the Shaft will be taken up so I can level up Bells and Braziers. But that's fine because I can get that back in time to level up Edict's Liminal. So, in the worst case scenario, I need 4 for Edict's Liminal, which I may be getting from Mrs. Kill. So as long as I do it at the very end of the day, I can just throw all of these things in at once. So yes, we will we'll level up Stone Stories when I get the health, Bells and Braziers as soon as we can so that I can restore the Shaft. Everything that's left over goes into leveling up Edict's Liminal if possible. And then I should restore my Faust at some point, even though I would like to read all of the paintings. There it is in Camino Tizzer. Mrs. Kill, as every local gossip knows, came from France to marry Mr. Kill, but there is scant trace of the continent in her accent now. Actually, this is one thing that I can try. So we have a grand piano, which has got Rose. So if we add the Intuition and the Wistful Air here, we can add a Fete. And I don't know why I thought that was going to do something really impressive. I think I was probably banking on a bunch of Sky. Yeah, this is not even remotely close to doing anything that I need. Also, Strings and Songs doesn't have Rose. Well, there we go. I learned how to make a salt sign. That'll make me feel better. Yeah, I seem to take leave of my senses for a little bit there. No harm, no foul there. Alright, Mrs. Kill has seen more of the world than she usually lets on. Conversations with her yield the occasional surprise. Add something to enhance Mrs. Kill's effectiveness for the day, or just talk. Unlike some assistants, Mrs. Kill can make use of fabric. So the main plan here is, like, in this case I seem to be just sitting idle for most of the day. And this is true, pretty much. The main difference, though, is that I don't know what I'm getting from Mrs. Kill, and I have a lot on my plate at the moment. So in this case, the smartest thing for me to do is just sit and wait. And then if the opportunity comes up, we'll use it to do other things. I do want to make sure, I think maybe I will get that glass of water prepared, because as much as I want to read the rest of the elements inside of the infirmary, I think... no, I'll hang on to the free FOSS for a little bit longer. But yeah, for the most part, I do actually need this sky, and it's getting in the way of me being able to read a couple of texts that would be helpful to not have a sky that I can level things up with. So maybe we'll make sure before the end of winter I'll do that. Okay, another leaf on the Tree of Wisdoms. So we're not ready to level up stone stories yet. But we can throw in with bells and braziers. Use this lesson to acquire a new skill. And I think we'll have another offer from Oriflammes before too long. Okay. Gossip doesn't really help me right now, but this is why we reserve the elements of the soul. Now, one thing I haven't been doing as much, and I know I kind of said that I wanted to spend a little bit more time on crafting, and then I made a bit of a gesture towards it, but I haven't been doing it as much as I had wanted. There is going to be the business of making some inks. And one thing that's useful, of course, is that right now I've just been relying on memories for reading the books, but if I want, crafting certain inks will allow me to read books easier as well. So that is another option that I have, which I haven't really taken advantage of yet. And again, it's just because, you know, out of the things that I can do, let's level up bells and braziers first, because I'm going to want that shat back sooner rather than later. There's always more to learn. But yeah, one thing that I could do crafting-wise that would be immediately applicable would be any of the books where I'm just shy of what I need, being able to brew a particular ink, if brew is the appropriate verb. You know, being able to make whatever ink that I need is a way that I can just sort of unpack a few more of those books. And of course, once I do that, I'll be in a position where I can feel a little more comfortable committing things to the Tree of Wisdoms. Or alternatively just saying, you know, hey, it looks like I need, you know, it looks like I don't really need these elements of the soul to be able to read the books now, so let's start investigating the house the way that I was using the FOSS. So again, it's mostly about opening up options. There it is in Camino Tizard. Mrs. Kill, as every local gossip knows, came from France to marry Mr. Kill, but their scant trace of the continent in her accent now. So far Mrs. Kill hasn't really been turning out for us in terms of giving us the memories that we need. But again, it's not... The friends aren't like a bank that you pull memories out of. They're something that helps you out. I still have my 4 elements of the soul that I can use to... you know, to generate the memories that I need if it comes down to that. With Keeper level Heart, the Paean is a precursor to Swaddled Thunder. So I kind of think of the Thunderskin's Paean, and then there's another, I think it's an Ascendant Harmony. I kind of like to think of those as the pocket storm. But as it turns out, there is in fact a pocket storm in this game. But this is a nice little way if you need a higher level heart, or even still if you need to preserve the if you need to preserve a storm, let's say, this is a neat way that you can do it. Song of Joyous Sacrifice. And in this case, we don't have a heart use. Well, we technically had a heart use for it, but we have other things that we can do with that heart. In this case, we're going to use it to open up the Shadowed Stair. The shadow here is a sentinel. To enter it unprepared is to risk dissolution. I must bear a memory like a torch in the dark. The consider verb is still being used, so we'll just wait on that. Skill is now level 2. Its power aspects have also increased. Bells and braziers, that resonance which lingers from the hammer's touch. I think we've talked about this before, but one thing I kind of like about the elements with Sky, you can always see them having their music angle. So strings and songs is heart music, bells and braziers. You've got forge music. Some of them it's a little hard. So stitching and binding, I haven't been able to quite work out the music connection with. So obviously Sky is not exclusively just musical, but even things like Applebright Euphonies, right? All of the musical oriented ones have the Sky, with the exception of drums and dances. And I always like reflecting on the fact that Winter and Sky, this wouldn't make sense in terms of having winter music, but you can think of painting as winter music because of its silence. Whether or not that was intended or not, I have no idea, but I like that. I like that way of thinking of painting. Okay, so we'll take the Stone Stories and the Impulse, the thing that started us off here. Now the thing that's nice about this is that if Mrs. Kill doesn't deliver the Impulse for us, we can actually verify that we do in fact get an Impulse from this text. But again, we'll see. We want to see what we can get from her first. I think we've got... I'll give it one more conversation with her before I use my Elements of the Soul. Okay, so that fear... No, hang on. That fear doesn't help me. That fear would have helped me a couple seconds ago, but we don't use it with Edict's Liminal. Mrs. Kill has seen more of the world than she usually lets on. Conversations with her yield the occasional surprise. And I also made a big boo-boo by not recovering the shaft. So Tuppence will buy me a hearty meal and a quiet place where I can rest and gather my thoughts. It is winter and the storms have tightened the seas. I am sitting before the fire in the Sweet Bones with a beef and potato pasty in one hand and a hot ale posset in the other. Okay, so the Geminiad Volume 2. A fragile manuscript illuminated with the twin shapes of sad and luminous beauty and with all the phases of the moon. It might be as old as the 7th century, but the language, if you've seen, is much older. The cover is a dark and exotic leather with a smooth, almost chitinous surface decorated with jasper. These pages outline the 7 bloody names of the daughters of Lagia, those corrupted immortals who gave birth to children in defiance of the laws of the upper heaven, who devoured them in obedience to the hour's punishment, and who have been left outside the law. The second volume of the Geminiad suggests that these 7 corrupted immortals who have been accorded the privileges of names of the witch and sister, or perhaps the sister and witch. It reminds us that the twins unite what is apart, and that the crime of the sky is in some sense a supreme joining. And it speaks at length about the sadness of the 7, the sadness of mothers whose children are forever lost, and far worse than that. Okay, so that gives us a satisfaction, and pentiments and precursors. So that's a bit inconvenient, just given that we already have it, and I've already used up my Arab. So I think the satisfaction's probably going to go to waste. Yeah, that is a real shame, actually. Because if I could have used the Arab, we've got both the gossip and the satisfaction together. Oh well. Excuse me. I don't want to spend too much time focusing on it, but I can at least place this beside... I'm going to have to do a pretty big rearrangement of the library, I think. Okay, stone stories of the earth, of its forms, of dwellers living and dead. So 12, it's 12.4, so we'll just give it one last run for something useful for Mrs. Kill. Otherwise, all 4 of these are going to go towards earning me a... yeah, Solace doesn't do anything. Well, it does something, but it doesn't do anything for Edict's Liminal. So we'll keep talking with Mrs. Kill, but in this case we will commit the 4 elements of the soul to generating the memories that I need, just so that we know that we can get a head start on Edict's Liminal. So I took a bit of a risk by taking on so many books. It's possible that I would have some memories that wound up unused, and that's definitely what's happened today. But I don't feel too bad about doing it. We're still up a room. It's worth over here. Which is worth remembering. The other thing is I believe this is the last item that we left off a couple of episodes ago, so we are now actually going to take some time. Having just read the Gemini at Volume 2, we will now find out about the Witch and Sister. The Witch and Sister unite what is at rest. She is sought at the water's edge and beneath the moon. She cannot be separated. She cannot be touched. She is coral, amber, pearl. I also actually need to generate the memories. So let's go to Natan's desk with the core. There's very little room for error here. That's an impulse. Salt. Pattern. Okay, so I need one more moth or one more knock. So gossip doesn't do it. Satisfaction doesn't do it. Seven Faces of Icarus is contradiction, which is edge and moon. No, hang on. That's sorry, fear, contradiction. Intuition, confounding parable, regret. Okay, I'm probably gonna have to rely on the music, actually. Hindsight, which is scale. Bancroft Dyer's Revelation is just lantern. I actually don't remember what Traveling at Night Volume 3 is. That's pretty bad. Storm. Solace. So the Wind's Ruin, I believe, is the one that gives me the beguiling melody. I've already mastered this, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. Now, one outside option I have would be to actually just drink a glass of water, too. Wait a minute. I don't know why I thought that. I am actually one short. I don't know why I thought I needed Grail. But I made a big boo-boo, and I don't think I can fix it. The best I could do would be to try and restore an element of the soul, but it'll still take me a minute to read something, so... Yeah, actually, this is the funny thing. I don't have Gospel of Zacchaeus, I guess might have been something... Yeah, so unless I wind up with some weird moth thing, I actually just wasted the day. Oh, new books. The Stare Tenebris. There were shadows here in the earth long before the foundations of the house were laid. They retreated before the Romans' burrowings, and quailed before the sun hymns of the brethren. They slunk away before the blades and pistols of the barons de Wolf. Over all those centuries they shrank, until at last, when the Curia of the Isle sunk this stair, they could recruit one as a watchdog. The Velvet. An hour of secrecy, ignorance, privacy, shame. The Velvet has never encouraged insight, investigation, or worship. Even an image of her is unusual. So we've got 3 Nocturnal Era books. We already knew there was the collapsed stair here. I'm still feeling like a real clown for messing this up here. Now a name day riddle will do the trick, but I can't make a name day riddle right now. I might be able to make it with some of the stuff that's left over, but... Okay, Abbot Geoffrey recorded a prophetic dream. 2 women, one in violet, one in white, gathering seashells. Each gave him a shell, but each gave him different advice. Okay, hindsight. There it is in Pinot Tizzer. Mrs. Kill, as every local gossip knows, came from France to marry Mr. Kill, but there's scant trace of the continent in her accent now. Can still check out paintings, so we'll check out the Thunderskin now. Thunderskin, he cannot be stilled, he demands the dance, he is beaten like a drum, he is heard in the wood below the world. Yeah, so Impulse has Moth, Cheerful Ditty does not. So what I'm trying to decide now is, does it make sense for me to give up and just use the shop to make a little bit of the money back? So we're getting an Impulse that has a Moth. We're getting a Beguiling Melody, which is Grail and Sky, so that's irrelevant. Perugian Diaries is Heart and Sky, so not relevant. Salt is relevant, we're getting it. Wrapped in the King, Nectar and Scale, so not relevant here. Glimmerings is Bittersweet Certainty, which is Lantern Winter. Twin Serpent Tantra would give us a pattern, which is Knock and Forge, that is relevant. Humors of a Gentleman gives us Gossip, I believe, which in this case is a Grail and Rose. Feckery's Herbery gives us Satisfaction. Again, we've already got one of those. Exorcism for Girls gives us Fear, which is Edge and Scale. Those indignities perpetrated by the deceitful fraternity of Obliviots is Edge and Moon. Book of the Centipede is Intuition. 108 is Confounding Parable, which is Intuition plus Sky. Keonet Abydos is Regret, which I think is Winter Scale is Hindsight. Winter Edge? I can't remember, but I know it's not Knock, and I know it's not Moth. Oblations and Iron should be Hindsight. Bancroft Diaries is Foresight, which is Lantern and Forge. Watchful Tantra is Revelation, which is pure Revelation. Yeah, so the Traveling at Night 3 is the one that really weirds me out. And the fact that it's just kind of sitting there on its own doesn't help me. Because like these 4 should have been it's pretty easy to remember these collections. So if it's beside the Revelation texts, normally I try to put books together so that I'll have some sort of association that I can draw later. I don't think yeah, I can't really think of another lantern that's relevant here. And usually the mystery knock doesn't give anything else. I'm thinking this might actually be a pattern. Because Traveling at Night, I seem to remember, had one exception. So it would actually be more appropriate for these to wind up over here. I think I might wind up Well, let's verify it, because I'm going to need to get a pattern another time anyway, but I actually think I can collapse these shelves back into another one. Maybe we'll put them here. And then satisfaction gets its shelf over here. Yeah, there's definitely some changes I need to make to these shelves. But before I go too much further, I'm trying just basically I'm sorry to kind of pause like this, but I'm taking a minute to think about like where I'm at in terms of this playthrough here. Does it even make sense for me to be able to get more Edicts Liminal doing what I'm doing right now? Because I remember Moth is one that doesn't actually have a whole lot of memories associated with it. There is the secret threshold and the stolen secret. That's what I was looking for Gospel of Zacchaeus. Oh, actually, I think it might be too late. If I didn't use up the Faust, it's possible that I could have used one of these skills to make something like a stolen threshold. That's the play next time, I think. But let's not fully give up. Okay, night has fallen, dawn will come soon. Okay, so actually I have a minute now, so let's, I am going to give up. It's not much work on offer in Brandkrug, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs, or at a coin to find visitors seeking employment. So what I'll do here, let's see, we can bring the no, I don't want to bring the pattern over, because that's one I actually want to see if traveling at night 3 gives me something for. So, well, let's see the books that I get first, because one of the chances here is to, or one of the opportunities here is for me to read the text. Although because we're past the half-hour mark, maybe we'll do that in the next episode. So I'm sorry to end the episode with me just sort of thinking through how it all works, but. A story is told of Hendrik, first Baron de Wolf, and a local cunning man, one Red William, who placed a curse on the de Wolfs. There will be no 7th of their line. There is another story that it is not a curse but a prophecy, and that Hendrik did not execute William but kept him safe in the caves below the isle. So one of these rooms may contain Red William. Yeah, you know what? So today was a bit of a mess up. The solution is, so basically I have my work cut out for me for tomorrow. There's nothing too catastrophic. What might make sense? I get to keep Forge, Rose, Moth, and Heart. So one option I have is to preserve the Gossip. Gossip lets me level up Pentiments and Precursors. Actually, hang on. Pentiments and Precursors. Yeah, I can get 1 level up out of that. The second one, probably I'm actually tying up with Mrs. Kill. So maybe we use the health instead. I don't know. But yeah, there's going to be a fairly heavy demand on my Elements of the Soul, but the trick here is that I don't actually need to really worry about... I don't really need to worry about reading any more books, seeing as we're digesting the Edicts Liminal and Pentiments and Precursors. So basically, tomorrow is going to be more of the same. The only difference is that I'm going to try and make sure that I generate a few knock memories using my skills. I'm accustomed to having a much larger library than I do, and again, I kind of lost my mind when I got one of the Grail memories, but that's life. I mean, it happens, right? But as I said, all of that will be for a future episode. So thank you very much for watching, and we will see you on Thursday's episode. See you tomorrow. Take care until then.